Hey everyone. Today we're going to be going over the main body on the AUDL speech bowl. So as for the structure, you want to start with a topic sentence, then repeat a claim evidence reasoning format, or as the AUDL calls it, assertion evidence reasoning format, and then move on and finish in a concluding sentence. So the topic sentence is pretty straightforward. You just want to say a one sentence statement of the main point in the following paragraph. If needed, you want to outline the rest of the structure in the paragraph, and this is really helpful if you have a really long paragraph. And it helps establish a nice structure so the judge or the audience can follow it well. You usually precede your topic sentence by a transition, which is given in this example. So the transition here is my first argument. It might not seem like a transition, but it's also a road mapper, which means that it tells you where in the structure of the speech you are. So the full example is that my first argument is that vaccines may cause backlash in the form of, and I put some underlines there. Those underlines are where you would want to outline the rest of the structure in your paragraph. So if you go through like why there's backlash, what form of backlash it is, and etc., those can all be included inside of this underline or the structure. Now, for the main portion is of the paragraph is a claim evidence reasoning format or an assertion evidence reasoning format. And this is really a repeated sentence format, which makes up the main portion of your paragraph. It starts with an assertion, and this is really a one sentence claim. You're just asserting your position on a certain topic, and it's once again usually preceded by a transition. So, for example, um, ironically, this transition is for example. So, for example, empirical evidence has proven that vaccine mandates have caused less people to get vaccinated when ill timed or ill presented. Um, After the assertion, you want to back up your claim with facts from reliable sources and evidence. So you must cite the author and the date, even in any speech. And it, once again, does include a transition. The transition here is usually something like according to. And here the example is according to Clay Stewart from the New York Times in March. Notice how there's an asterisk here. If I just say a month, it usually means that I'm talking about this year. So this is usually inferred as March 2021. However, if you're not using something from this year, you should include the year date as well. So I would say like August 2011. And then take what in what they're saying and what you find pertinent to your speech and put in quotation marks and just have that supporting fact there. After you have evidence, you want to have reasoning, or you want to follow up your evidence with analysis that links the evidence to the claim and even impacts it. So Stewart points out that the evidence, which means that overall less people get vaccinated, which mandates with mandates in place, causing a backlash in public health. And so that kind of just like sweetly wraps it up and impacts it. So it says backlash to public health is the main impact, which links it back to the assertion. And the last sentence, actually, just a brief thing here, is that you want to repeat the structure as many times as you need in your paragraph. I would usually limit it to three because after three, it gets rather lengthy. And after you get pretty well adapted to this format, you can start deviating from it and blending it together. But one thing that you have to make sure is that all portions should still be present in some form or another, and you should have a very clear flow in between each one. After you're done repeating your assertion, evidence, and reasonings, you want to end it with you want to end your paragraph with a concluding sentence. And once again, it's fairly straightforward. It's a short sentence that wraps up the main points of the paragraph. It's similar, but it's an inverted structure of the introduction here. So an example would be in summation, because empirically vaccine mandates have caused less people to take the vaccine and even led to violence at vaccination centers, vaccine mandates may prove counterproductive to the goal of public health. So this is a nice recap of what we said during the body. And lastly, some other considerations that you should have in your speech is that once you get pretty well adapted to the structure, you'll find out that it's pretty quick and you you can start to deviate it from it, as I said before. The two things that you should always follow is that make sure you always have your transitions. You don't want to suddenly abruptly go into evidence without saying like the author date, or with going into your next claim without saying a nice transition. You just want to make sure that your paragraph is flowing nicely. And you should be following your thesis structure, as in you should be road mapping your entire way through. So you should be saying my first argument is as a topic sentence, and then follow it by your main topic sentence, and then have that claim evidence reasoning. And always follow the structure that you established beforehand. That's about it for the main body. Have fun.